eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Sorry, we had a little technical difficulties there. Definitely, I think after yesterday's video, some CIA interference. I'm sure of it. Hope you're all doing well, guys. It's been a pretty crazy 24 hours, actually. As I said in the last time we went live, and I was saying it in the video and in Discord, the video that I was really nervous to put up is already the most highly watched video on my channel, which is kind of crazy. I didn't intend to continue talking about this because I was nervous to put it up because I thought it was going to get received really badly. I thought it was going to get a lot of backlash, but the reception's actually been really positive. So I think given that, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I want to say these are dark topics for sure. I think they're real. And because of that, that's why I want to talk about it, because I feel like if I have a platform, I almost have a responsibility to talk about it if it comes up. But this isn't something that we're going to be talking about every day on the channel at all. It's just kind of the topic at the moment, and I feel like we should just go a little bit further on it. So I hope you guys are ready to come down the rabbit hole with me today. I've got a lot of, I have the clips I have for today's stream are banging. And by banging, I mean, they're dark and scary, but they're loaded with crazy information, crazy cases. Basically, since that video went out, I've just been getting bombarded with people sending me stuff. So today's just been sifting through content, getting links, and we're going to talk about it because that's what happens when things get so weird. People are going to have to talk about it. Now, this is probably a good time to mention that I have a second channel. And you should probably go subscribe to it because, you know, people get kicked off of YouTube, people get demonetized, people get deplatformed. You never know what's going to happen. The link is below. It's called Josh Radamas TV. That channel actually has its own vision and its own goal for what I want it to be, and it will be that eventually. But it's not that yet. But I think just getting people over there now is a good thing. Because who knows what could happen. But I do have plans for that in the future. And Jotwa47 has just gifted 10 memberships. What an absolute legend. And guys, you can, and every super chat tonight, that is over $5, okay? I don't want my dog to get fat and diabetes. But every super chat over $5 or any new member gets to feed the dog, okay? We got Scooby Snacks here. And for Jotwa, for chipping in, and Serpenter with $25, one of my mods, an absolute legend of the community, Serp. Thank you. He says, let's get those Scooby Snacks passed out. All right, well, here's the first one for Jotwa. Suki. Hang on, I'll give you guys full screen. Yeah, sit up. Can you guys see that okay? Hang on. That's better. That's for you. And for Serp. She's getting fed tonight. Good girl. You're going to be her favorite in no time. And $10 from Yoza. Oh my gosh, she's getting another one. The show's never going to begin at this rate. Good girl. What a lucky dog she is. And I've actually got myself some snacks. I'm going to try not to eat on stream too much because that's kind of gross. But guys, have you tried these? These were $2 and they're unreal. So good. I thought if she gets snacks, so do I. Can I pet the dog too? Yes, you can. You absolutely can, Brody. Thank you for the $5. Good girl. You know how normally on stream she's asleep? Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore. So, I shouldn't have had that snack. So obviously after yesterday's video, I've been basically speed running the Old Testament. I've been doing a speed run on the Old Testament. No, not really, but kind of. I've been trying to, what I'm going to do, like, because obviously I went into like, who is Baal? Like, what is this shit? What is actually going on here? And like I said, this group that got exiled from like around the area that is Palestine, and they were the Canaanites, right? I think that's how it's pronounced. But one thing that rocked me, these Canaanites that worshipped Baal, and obviously they do these weird vampiric, rituals and practices. The word cannibalism is literally a breakdown of that. It's the Canaanites, the Canaan, Baal-ism, cannibalism. When I saw that, I was just like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? But anyway, basically, this is my understanding after speedrunning the Old Testament with Grok today. Baal and Moloch, Dagon, there's all these like false gods, right? There's a whole bunch of gods. And I'm not trying to tell people who already know this shit because I barely know it, okay? I'm just saying it because I know there'd be people out there like me that would be like, who the hell is Baal? And at least I can give you like some kind of basic idea of it. But please do your own research because this is not the place to learn about this stuff properly. But basically, the people who didn't follow and worship Yahweh, who is obviously who we know as God, followed like a polytheistic way of life where they could worship multiple different gods, right? Baal being one of them, but he was just one of many. And it was kind of like this way where they could kind of, worship whoever, gain favor with whoever, perform sacrifices and wild shit to gain power and favor with these assortment of gods who Yahweh denounces as like false gods, false idols, right? And that basically, if you follow him and only him, then that is the way to, protection and the light, and basically anything else, ritual, practice, and sacrifice is like morally corrupt. That's what I've learned today. And the one question I had from that, I was just like, the whole idea of like monotheistic belief of like, you can follow me and only me. I was like, that sounds a little bit like non-altruistic. Like it's a bit, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not religious. You guys know that. I'm like the inverted Diana Pasolka. She started believing in UFOs from researching religion. I've started to believe in God from researching UFOs. I've come from the other side, but I definitely don't think I'll ever align myself with a religion. I don't think that's necessary. I kind of think that's part of the trick, to be honest. I think you already have everything you need. With that being said, and before anyone makes the dog any fatter, let's get into the show. The first clip, we're going head on into this one, guys. The first clip is from Oprah Winfrey, of all people, in the, I think this is like 89. And this is when, so again, I'm just learning about all this shit at the moment, guys. So, you guys are coming on this journey with me. Don't see me as some kind of like preacher who knows this stuff. I'm learning on the fly with all of you guys. This is part of like a moment that happened in the 80s called the Satanic Panic. I'm sure some of you guys know it and remember it. But this is basically when like, it seems like a lot of this stuff kind of came to the surface and people were like, what the hell is going on? And then it all got squashed because, I mean, if you watch that documentary that I linked about the Khazarian mafia, the judges and the people who own the child protective services and the people who own the courts are from the Khazarian mafia. Okay? So that's why nothing ever happens. That's why it never goes anywhere, because these people have their fingers everywhere. So that's what I've found, right? But anyway, let's watch this clip. So this is a lady who comes from a Jewish family on the outside, but that's not what goes on behind closed doors.
My next guest was used also in worshiping the devil, participated in human sacrifice rituals and cannibalism. She says her family has been involved in rituals for generations. She is currently in extensive therapy, suffers from multiple personality disorder, meaning she's blocked out many of the terrifying and painful memories of her childhood. Meet Rachel, who is also in disguise to protect her identity. You come from generations of ritualistic abuse?
Yes, my family has an extensive family tree, and they keep track of who's been involved and who hasn't been involved. And it's gone back to like 1700.
And so you were...
Right. I was born into a family that believes in this.
And does everyone else think it's a nice Jewish family? From the outside, you appear to be a nice Jewish girl?
Definitely.
And you all are worshiping the devil inside the home?
Right. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family.
Really? And so who knows about it? Lots of people now.
I talked to a police detective in the Chicago area, and several of my friends know, and I've spoke publicly before.
So when you were brought up in this kind of evilness, did you just think it was normal?
I've blocked out a lot of the memories I had because of my multiple personality disorder. But
so this is something we're going to see a lot in today's show, that a lot of this stuff is kind of in the realm of like MK Ultra, Monarch, Project Montauk, like all this stuff, like what this stuff does either intentionally or as like a side effect. I'm fairly sure it's intentional, is like this kind of abuse forces people to like dissociate and splits their personality out. And this is by design. And from what I've heard is that like these crazy programs are able to like build personalities and like install personalities into people and have the ability to trigger them by like a certain smell, a certain sound, can make people flip into these different personalities, right? And when you think about like the kind of shit we've seen from Tila Tequila, or even like Britney Spears is a classic example. These people have clearly had like their minds messed with, like on a scale that I don't think we understand, and like majority of the population aren't even ready to hear about.
But yes, I mean, it's like if you grow up with something, you think it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought...
So what kinds of things? You don't have to give us the gory details, but what kinds of things went on in the family?
Well, there would be rituals in which babies would be sacrificed, and you would have to, you know...
Whose babies?
There were people who bred babies in our family. No one would know about it. A lot of people were overweight, so you couldn't tell if they were pregnant or not, or they would supposedly go away for a while and then come back. The other thing I want to point out, not all Jewish people sacrifice babies. I mean,
no.
That's not a very
we kind of know
thing.
that.
I just want to point that out.
Yeah, good point to make. Not all Jewish people sacrifice babies. I think let's just highlight that one. In fact, I don't think any Jewish people do. It's people masquerading, and that is like the wild thing, is that it feels like people, it's like the perfect shield, right? Because you're masquerading as this like oppressed culture or religion, and then like people who don't understand this shit will pop up and start screaming that you're being anti-Semitic, and it's like, bro, no, you don't get it. These people are hiding behind this shit and you are literally protecting them. Like, that's what's so cooked about this. But like, you need to have, like, you need to be awake to realize that shit, and not just be like an NPC that repeats everything that they hear like a parrot.
This is the first time I heard of any Jewish people sacrificing babies. But anyway, so you witnessed the sacrifice.
Right. When I was very young, I was forced to participate in that, in which I had to sacrifice an infant.
And the purpose of sacrifice is to what? Is to bring you what? What are you sacrificing for?
For power.
Uh-huh. Power. And so, were you ever used? Were you ever used yourself?
I was molested. I was raped several times.
Mm-hmm. And what's your mother doing?
She's
in all of this. What's her role in it?
I'm not exactly what her role is. I haven't, recovered all of my memories, but her family was extremely involved. Mm-hmm. She brought me to it. Both of my parents brought me to it.
And where is she now?
She's lives in the Chicago metropolitan area. She's on the Human Relations Commission of the town that she lives in, and she's an upstanding citizen. Nobody would suspect her.
Were you raised with a sense of right and wrong, Rachel?
Yes. I had both. To the outside world, everything we did was proper and right. And then there were nights that things changed, that things just got turned around. What was wrong was right, and what was right was wrong. That's what helps to create somebody to develop MPD.
Mm-hmm. Multiple personalities.
Right.
Now, in your family, did you all call it worshiping the devil?
No,
Rachel? Or
I don't know.
It was just evil, things you did.
Right. Well, I said it was evil, and they said it was good. There's a book that I had just come across called Cave, which is a book of Jewish mysticism and supernatural, and there's a lot in that book that relates to what I, endured when I was a child.
So yeah, that's it for that clip. Pretty damning. That's 1989 during the Satanic Panic, and she's saying all the same things that we're hearing today, like from the interview that we covered from Anya Wick. That on the outside, these people are like morally, well, not morally, but they're like upstanding citizens. They go to work. They they're in the lunchroom saying hello, and then they go home, and like the whole realm flips, and now it's like dark and doing wild shit to gain power and favor. It's disgusting. And that's 1989. We're here in 2025. Nothing has changed. So you can, and humans grow and breed out. So if nothing's changed, you can only assume that this has gotten more like what's the word? I'm not good with words tonight. They've grown out bigger and further and stronger. That'll do. Just quickly, Stevie, thanks for all the positive comms. Check the Discord for a mind fur after the stream. Also, how do you link YouTube to Discord? In Discord, go to your settings and you can make connections, and you connect your Discord account. And this one is from you to Suki. Thank you for the $15, Suki. This is from Steven. She says thank you. I need to get her a little mic so you can hear her crunch crunch. And the cookie with $5 as well. Good morning. And no, P. Shaw and P. Diddy are not related. Brother, I'm glad you said that because I was wondering that. This one is from the cookie. Make sure you say thank you. And Brody with the $2 as well says, all roads lead to Jerusalem. I don't know about all roads, mate. I don't know about all roads, but thank you. Unfortunately, the cutoff to feed the dog is $5 because I have to think about her health at the same time. All right, let's actually, before we move on, let's cover what's on the thumbnail, which is the case of P. Diddy's eyes turning black, which is obviously something that was like a major feature in the video in what we were learning about. So just give me a second. We should get it. There we are. Okay. So this is just from May this year, not too long ago. Diddy's eyes would just go black, Cassie Ventura says while describing Sean Combs' violent controlling behavior. So we're just going to read a few little highlighted parts from this news report. Cassie Ventura broke down in Manhattan court Tuesday as she testified how Sean Diddy Combs' eyes would suddenly just go black when he launched into violent rages against her. He would be violent with me. His look would just change over. He would just become a different person. Ventura, 38, told the rap federal jury at the rap mogul's sensational sex trafficking trial, that's wordy, choking back tears. He would just become a different person. I wouldn't know what would happen, said Ventura, now a married mother of 2 and 8 months pregnant to her 3rd child. What I want to know, hang on, the best way to describe it is his eyes just go black. The version that I was in love with is no longer there. What I want to know with that is like, is it just the pupil and your iris, or like is your white parts turning black? Your eyeball. I'm sure the medical term isn't white parts, but you know what I'm saying. Like, what? Are we talking about just the eyes or the literal eyeballs? I mean, both are scary, but if it's the whole eyeball, that's terrifying. So let's just cover this one quickly because it also kind of touches on... This one touches on... I mean, we've talked about Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons and the idea of sex magic and the power in sexual energy. And I think that ties into a lot of this stuff, right? Because this feels like sex magic, but in like a negative light. I mean, I don't know if sex magic can be used in a good way. I'm sure it can, right? That's polarity. But let's just read this and we'll go into it a bit more. So Ventura was asked again about the various escorts she says she was forced to hire with Combs' money to take part in increasingly extreme sexual scenarios over marathon sessions Combs called freak-offs, which we've heard that term a lot. Combs would often threaten to release the videos he had of Ventura taking part in the freak-offs, she said. She noted that on her birthday one year, Combs reminded her of the videos he had in his possession after she refused to leave her friends to go with him to a freak-off. That is blackmail. This is sexual blackmail, and this is exactly what I think Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm sure other people, has done in the political sphere. Because you don't have the Epstein list on your desk and then next week the Epstein list doesn't exist. You've been blackmailed. After such sessions, Ventura said that she felt empty emotionally and gross. Sometimes she said she would leave freak-offs if she felt unsafe, but would often return to the hotel room because Combs or one of his employees would find her and bring her back. Now, you know, I brought that up because, like, you know, I do think this touches on the realm of, like, what is sexual energy? Like, I mean, I can only speak from a male's perspective, obviously. But for a male, I mean, it's like the seed of life. It is like the seed and creation of life. So when you think of it like that, the fact that, like, society seems to be designed to, like, drain men of their seed, if you know what I'm saying, in lots of different ways. And, you know, she's saying that after this stuff, she feels empty, emotionally gross. Like, I understand what she's getting at. You know, why is this stuff glorified? Why is that made to be like a cool thing that people want to do? And then they leave feeling empty and gross and like emotionally pillaged. I think there's something to that. But I just wanted to read that out. I won't go too deep on the whole sex magic thing. We might touch on it again. Oh shit, Suki looks like she's ready for a treat, and she has one ready. Mona with £5 says Virginia Guffrey spoke about abuse victims in these rings having a dead man switch. Then she ends up taking her life before this Epstein scandal. Yeah, that stuff was super. Yeah, she like, what happened to her? She nearly died. She started speaking out. And then she actually died. I mean, there's so much smoke. The people that can't see the fire are just like so asleep. It's crazy. Jay Varga with a gifted membership as well. That means Suki's getting 2 snacks. One from Mona. Suki, make sure you say thank you. I feel like this was the perfect stream to introduce feeding the dog because shit's like, we're getting dark here. This is something just to, you know, keep the spirits up. Good girl. She says thank you. All right. And also as well, so delving into the realm of like sex magic, ritual magic, and this, you know, this realm, this cultish realm, I actually reached out to Frada Eleftheria last night and asked him a couple of things just about like Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons. So what I think we'll do is we'll watch this next clip. This is the biggest clip of the show, by the way, this next one. And it's about 15 minutes. And I tried to cut it down, but there was just so much in this, including this guy talking about seeing shapeshifters. And I think I'll just say before I play the clip, I think shapeshifting is the wrong term, but it's the best term we have. I mean, I've never seen one, so I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know if we're actually seeing people's like physical 3D body contort rather than like, I don't know. seeing something expelling from them, like a dark energy. That's just total speculation, but maybe after you watch these clips, you guys will agree with me. So this is Nathan Reynolds, and this is wild. This dude is basically a survivor and escapee.
You come from a family.
From the families that are involved in this stuff for generations, and basically he believes that his family line, including his own blood, are direct descendants from the Nephilim, and that is why they try to keep this stuff in the family. So yeah, this is a 15-minute clip. We'll probably stop off a little bit along the way, but listen up. This is wild.
That people have described it as Illuminati family. Is that how you would describe it?
That's not how I would describe it in the same way. I'll be honest. I think it's just a popular catchphrase that a lot of people are borrowing into. Now, I come from a family that they believe they are descendants of the old gods. That's the best way to say it. That they believe that they are carriers of a seed line that gives them the divine right to rule. And that is what gives them justification spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, scientifically to dominate the lesser species known as humans. Humans literally means a lesser species of man. And they do not believe they are a human in the same way. They believe they are something other than. And that's descendants of this hierarchical ruling species that is from the celestial realm that descended in the days of Jared and came down and procreated with the daughters of men, and that they still trace their seed line back to Gilgamesh, till Nimrod. And so this is what the dynastic families believe they have, is a superiority in their genetics on one side and the ability to commune with the divine. And so their children are progenitors of these, some might call them aberrations, mutations, these skills, psychic abilities, that kind of stuff, all variants of it. And so they raise up their children in this path with which involves a tremendous amount of shattering of the soul and the identity, so that there's compartmentalization within, and it allows them the ability to train their child up in a way that makes them conducive towards the family. I call them the family. That's what I called them. You know, it's a better word for mafia than anything else. But no, we didn't call ourselves, like my family wouldn't ever call themselves Illuminists. Yeah. Right? They're Luciferian. That's for certain. They worship Hallel and Shahar, as he's really known, but different reasons than what people are ascribed to, you know. Interesting. All right. So I want you to start from the beginning of what your childhood was like and just walk us through this. But before you do, you just said something that I got to ask you before I forget. What they believe, do you believe is true in the sense of them being able to trace back their lineage to the fallen? Some of them, yes. I believe they absolutely can. Do you think that's in your blood? I believe it was, yeah. I believe it is. Yeah? I believe there's a way to physiologically necessarily... My blood's been augmented a lot over the years. I volunteered for a lot of stuff and said yes to everything that they could ever give me that would make me better than what I was. I was on a desperate quest for relief. And so I volunteered for all kinds of stuff. And I volunteered for stuff that was transhuman in its nature. Really? And it augmented me quickly, you know? And that was brutal. Because then there's this... I lived a lot longer than I expected. Let me just put it that way. I did.
There we go. We've had the first one in the chat already. Joe Westfall says, this guy's a scam artist. Thanks, Joe. I'll turn off the stream. We'll all go home now. We should have just gone to Joe for a bit of reporting, and he could have just solved the whole case for us. Well done, Joe. Great critical thinking skills. Sorry, I just wanted to pause off because Suki's been sitting here so patiently waiting for a treat, and she gets one from Blaze with $5. Says treat for Suki before she maxes out. Good morning from Houston, Texas. 7 a.m. over here. Good morning, mate. Thank you. And Suki says thank you as well. She's never going to sleep for a stream again. All right, let's keep moving with this guy. And let's try to keep our critical thinking hats on and not just start screaming and slapping the keyboard when something just rattles your paradigm a little bit. Okay, let's try and stay a little bit more open-minded, guys. I believe in you, Joe. You can do it. Not think I would ever see 18. Never even comprehended the idea that I would ever know a family that wasn't this other thing, where the powers of control and access were given through the abuse of children. That's what I knew as normal. And I knew that people were corrupt and monsters and were willing to devour each other to rise to the top. I understood what wolves were when they ran the world. And so it was very hard for me to get to a place where I could believe that I could be redeemed, because I had witnessed enough of things
in the families that make it seem like I am irredeemable forever.
You kind of hit on the childhood stuff right there in that kind of description. Was it something that came from complete childhood where it's like from your earliest memories it's just been kind of manipulated and jacked up? And what was that like for you growing up?
Well, my family set up a base of operations. They're from the East Coast, the Reynolds family on one side. My mother's family, just for clarity, I've never exposed a lot of the side of things that were going on with, let me say it another way. The Reynolds family on my father's side, they're all from the East Coast out here, and they're a dynastic family. You know, like my great-grandfather, a man named Don Potter Reynolds, was the architect, the head of engineering for the president, as the president of the American Society of Civil Engineering back in the 80s. And he's the one who put the new torch in the Luciferian hand of the Statue of Liberty of Columbia. And so he's a master Mason Luciferian in that way. And he was so much of the for the family at that time, especially when I came into being. And but my dad left that thing and moved out to the Southwest and started a different empire. And so a lot of how it works in the families is you got two main approaches. If you've got unlimited access to wealth, power, like really, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about power, like unlimited raw power, where a phone call, the phone book is far more powerful than the bank account because it's who you know can open doors to power anywhere else in the entire world. And that's where everything was. So you can leave with nothing, but then you can go build. And if you need the phone book, there's a price to be paid. And the price to be paid is generally one of your children. This is like the reality. It seems bizarre to some, but a child is generally a chosen child out of the family is given over as an offering to the family. And they're the ones who's going to go through this left-hand path. They're going to experience the desecration of their soul, their identity, and they're going to become an agent for the family that is owned completely. And there's like a legal trustee that is given over to it. There's a board of directors that sits over it. Like these are real legal confines for how the wealth is distributed out there. And so in order to build your empire, you got to be able to go prove yourself. And that's what he ended up doing out in the Southwest. And he moved to Arizona, an area called Flagstaff, Arizona. And
so I just want to mention this as well, because in the Khazarian Empire clip that I included in yesterday's video, I obviously had to, that's such a deep, long story that I just couldn't tell it in a simple, short way. But one part that I cut out from the part 2 is this, he was like a county sheriff or something like that. And he was basically saying that there are what he called rat lines that run from the south to the north underground in the United States. I mean, obviously we know there's like underground tunnels and shit everywhere. But this guy was saying they're rat lines that they use for all of these networks. There's like one on the west, one in like the, inner west, on the inner east, and down on the east line from like up Florida up to New York. And he was saying that like at all sort of ends of these tunnels, there are like, child protection services, county like courts, judges, all of these like establishments that you would think, these establishments that would be the places that you go to like protect the children, try and make a case. But they're all owned by people like this, from this families like this. Like he said, the power is in like who you know. It's in your phone book. It's not money, and the power is unlimited. It's scary shit. It really is.
Where I was born, that is a place that's a high place, Mount Humphreys. It's a volcanic peaks that sit there. And the top of it is where the Hopi Indian and a lot of people had gathered forever to commune with the fallen. They believed that the sons of the sky would come down every season at the winter solstice, and they would abide from the winter solstice to the summer solstice there. And so this was a place where they would give their daughters over to them. This is Hopi mythology, like 101, and they would make these kachina dolls, which were an effigy of the what I would say is a watcher angel, that would come, and the daughter would be given to him, and she would place that over her bed throughout her life, and that's her familiar spirit, right? That's where I was born into. And the people that still practice that old religion, that's the way I referred to it, they still do this. And they still take their children up there to give them over to them on these high days. And so I was born into that, and I was born through that seed line and into that ritual magic world. And but my mother's side are extreme Catholics and Jesuits through and through. And so her father ran a different operation in Southern California, which was much more based on the child exploitation side of the equation. And he operated out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Lake Havasu, for those of you that are unfamiliar, sits in the absolute desert border of Arizona and California, and it has the Colorado River that's been dammed up, and they created an artificial lake there. And it was a secret military base back in World War II. It was called Site 6, and it was a stopover point crossing the desert for soldiers going there, and they would made it into a rest and recuperation area. And so it was a party city from its foundation. It had a lot of underground structures that were built into it as a refueling point. And in the 1960s, a guy named Robert P. McCulloch bought it. And he bought it, and he also purchased the London Bridge that crossed the River Thames, and he had it shipped over here stone by stone. And while they were doing that, they excavated 80 bodies that were entombed inside it in a practice that's called annulment, where you would sacrifice a person and bury them alive in the walls of the foundation. And so there's all these chambers in this facility of the London Bridge where they would do torture and all kinds of ritual stuff. You got to have
I almost just need to pause it, and I don't even have anything to say just because it's like so heavy. I'm just like, okay, I just need to breathe for a second. Hubert McMillan chucked in $8 and said, for awesome sarcasm, not for Suki. Thank you, Hubert. I think she can do with missing around. Appreciate that. Thank you. Suki gave up. Yeah, she'll be back. She'll be back. This was an interesting comment from Retro1236. He says, that's why I think Lazar's claim that we are containers are so intriguing and true. You're right, it is. And I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying at the start about these, MK Ultra, Montauk, Monarch projects that are designed to like seemingly fracture your consciousness in a way that like either creates room for like something else to slip in there or creates like an environment that something else can like become you can play a host to some kind of like negative entity. This is the realm that I think whatever Billy Corgan saw with Tila Tequila, whatever Juliet Bryant saw happen to Jeffrey Epstein, I think what we're actually dealing with here is like people who have, like, to use a corny term, sold their soul to the devil. And that can probably be done in lots of different ways and to different degrees. But I think at like the highest degrees, and like I said in the video, when people are doing it willingly and knowingly and like intentionally doing terrible things to gain something, I think that possession or whatever this is happens on such a high level that there are cases of it like manifesting in 3D reality. And that is what we're getting when people are saying they're seeing shapeshifters. And like I said, I don't think shapeshifter is a good word for it because I think it's a bit misleading. And that is what he's going to get into next. Listen to where he goes next. We're about halfway through this clip. We're actually exactly halfway through, which is weird. We have watched 7 minutes and 12 seconds. We have another 7 minutes and 12 seconds to go. Before we do, Walken with $5. I'm with you on all this, brother, but the other guy isn't kidding. This guy is pretty sketch if you look into him deeper. Love the content. I appreciate you, man. And hey, and that's the thing. I'm not against the idea of him being that, but it's when you come in and just and say it with conviction, because unless you're him or unless you are his brother or if you lived with him his entire life, you don't know that. You're just speculating, and that's fine. That's what this whole thing is about. But like when people just like come in and be like, this is this, I know, it's fake, it's a scam. It's like, bro, shut up. Like, just open your mind a little bit. You don't actually know that. It's okay to feel that way, but you don't actually know. So just please relax. It is mildly annoying. Bigfoot Smiley with £5. Slothy made a live stream. Welcome, Slothy. Thank you. Josh, bring more quality content. Currently resembling Suki curled up on the floor with the flu, but it's okay because polarity. My man, I hope you're feeling better. And Slothy is the guy who made the little Egyptian hanging stuff that I showed you guys on the celebration stream. So go and give him some love. He makes some awesome work. Drop your link in the chat, bro. Drop your link in the chat.
Cover stories for why your child's all beat up and bruised and your face is smashed in. Like, I've had multiple reconstructive plastic surgeries from fights, like fighting for my stinking life. You got to have cover stories. We would move around constantly. My parents would move us around sometimes every 6 months or not. But once you have a friend or a teacher or somebody notices, starts asking questions, or you start bonding with somebody that's outside the cult, they're not going to tolerate that. And so we would move all the time. And now my sisters on the other side, they weren't roped into this thing. I was in a male cult. This is the Brotherhood of the Snake down in Lake Havasu. But this is, my sisters weren't caught up in the same thing, but they were caught up by the family as a whole. And so this carried on, and we moved into this place called Sholo Pinetop Lakeside, Arizona. And this is where an area, they would move to these specific high places where the veil is really thin. There's a very, very famous story about a guy who had an alien encounter out there, Snowflake, Arizona. And this is an area where I was right on the Apache reservation. White Mountain Apache Reservation was 100 yards from my door. And they would go out into the Apache reservation to these specific high places and do these rituals and this ritual magic. And a lot of that involved. That was when it was the worst to me, because I was old enough to understand how vile what was happening, you know, in ritual magic. And at the same time, I was the most readily influenced by the family side of the equation. I thought the family and the military was the way out, but I hated this occult side of it because I saw men become monsters physically in front of my eyes. Other things come out of people's mouths. Other things come through their eyes. Like I witnessed enough transfiguration to know that this stuff is 100% stalking in the darkness. And I don't want that to rule me forever, you know, but it was hard to not resist, you know, you're in it.
Well, so, all right, seeing things like that, like you say, all right, so you said you saw men become monsters. Is that metaphorically or literally?
That's literally. I've seen men do nasty things like an animal, but then I've seen men become not people.
Like literally
not be the people. Yeah.
Okay.
And there is like lycanthropy, and there's these understandings of what the watchers are capable of doing that most people are just woefully ignorant of. And that's why they're perishing. It's because they lack a basic understanding of history. And one of the predominant understandings of what a watcher, specific class of celestial beings, is capable of is augmenting itself. They can shapeshift. That is by their nature. They're literally called metaskizmazotoi in the Greek, in the New Testament. And it's because he says, it's marvel not, because Hasatan you could say like transforms himself. That's a good word for it. But he shapeshifts himself into an angel of light. And his messengers, his apostles, disciples, they do the same thing. And he's like, this is because they are capable of becoming anything they want to be in order to deceive on one side of the equation. And that's what they'll do. And so when people start engaging in these necromantic rituals and other stuff, and they start to seek the embodiment of these celestial ones, they can get these things on them and in them, and they can't contain them. And some of these guys who are messing with this stuff, who don't come from the bloodline, are incapable of cohabitating like a parasite, and they feed off of each other and they can't handle it. And so that's why families are recruited from these bloodlines, and children are recruited out, even if they don't know anything about it. Like you said, the vast majority of people who come from these bloodlines, there's a lot of muddy.
Joe says, we have no real history. We don't even know who we are. Now we're cooking, Joe. That's better, my man. That's the way. That's true. We don't. And I think that's, you know, I think that in itself, my own opinion here, is that, you know, if that is not a giveaway that you're all being lied to, it's like, dude, how could you possibly believe that we don't know where we came from? How is that even possible? How is that actually possible to not know where you came from? It isn't. I don't think it is. It only is if someone is intentionally withholding that information. It's the biggest giveaway of all time, in my opinion.
Of the waters, there's a lot of purity that's been changed. There's a lot of half-breeds. There's a lot of quarter breeds, right? There's a lot of people that don't know this stuff, and they start to get into lesser magic, and all of a sudden it's like the doors of everybody open to them. But that's why. It's because they can host these things better. Whereas those that don't, they get taken over by this stuff, and they can't change back. They can't return, in a sense. Like, people become completely possessed and are incapable of expelling the darkness after that. And who do you turn to? You're going to go to the Catholic guy who's all into the same thing that you're into, you know? Like, most people don't understand what a real deliverance is required for somebody that has gone down this far down, where they are the consuming people. Like, that's a deep, devastating, psychological, spiritual shock. Physical, your liver, like the health. This is why I'm huge into health, because I physically had to try to find ways to help people who have done all of these things. Like
he's literally saying, yeah, I did have to. I know, guys, I didn't want to, but it's such a long clip. I'm sorry. This is sped up only by 10%. This is at 110% speed. Yeah, I know it does mess with that a little bit, but it's already such a long clip. I'm sorry. What he's saying here is what I'm getting at, is that, like, you know, if possession is real, if exorcisms are real, which, you know, there must be something to them because they've been around for a long time. These things generally seem to happen to people, like, kind of unknowingly, or people who maybe get a little bit lost and they get kind of consumed with, like, darkness or whatever. This is sort of like people getting perhaps, like, preyed upon in, like, a spiritual sense, right? What about when we're talking about people who are willingly giving themselves over to the darkness, like proper, like, Darth Vader types? Do you know what I'm saying? This is what he's saying, is like, these people get so consumed with darkness that it is like manifesting in them in 3D. And that is the kind of shit that we're seeing.
Consumption of human blood does horrific things to the human body. you know, and this is a major practice within this. These families do drink blood. That's why we have these vampire class of people. It's not some kind of myth. People consume blood in order to live, extend their life force. Like this.
Talking about vampires again.
This is a normal thing. You got billionaires today who admit it on Joe Rogan podcasts and other places where they're like, yeah, I used the blood of my son and all that. Like, you don't understand. This is a religion, you know, and this is a highly effective means of augmenting yourself. And so these watchers will give people this power. Their priest class will dispense that to people who want to go into, you know, like what I come from down there in the Apache reservation was the people that slip between realms and become animals.
Oh, here we go. Animorphs was a documentary,
you know, and it's
you are hitting things that are confirming so many things that like I speak hypothetically about, almost in the sense that like I believe but I can't prove kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like for instance, years ago I had a guy on the show and he didn't say it on the show, so I usually don't say his name because some people know who I'm talking about, some people don't. But because he didn't say it on the show, I don't know why I didn't say it on the show. But he said that he was a former, I guess I forget, like Satanist or whatever. Like he came from a deep line of this stuff, and he said at one point he says at one point people have to make a decision whether they're going to go the vampire route or the werewolf route.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm sorry, what? This guy said this to him off stream. Someone who's deep in this shit, that when you get into this stuff, you have to take the vampire route or the werewolf route. So Animorphs and Twilight were actually documentaries.
And he said that he was told by somebody who went the werewolf route that he should go vampire because doing werewolf is like the most painful thing you'll ever experience in your
Never go full vampire, bro. Never go full vampire.
Life. I don't know. I can't say factually how true that is or not, but you're saying a lot of similar things, and now you're saying that there's traversing realms involved with this. So are you saying that there are people who are traversing realms because of their ability to change into these things, or are those two separate categories, or sometimes the same?
I would say it like this: the reason that there's these First Nation people have preserved these priest class, right? Just all across the world. This isn't just like localized to white European people. There are people here who practice this type of same old religion, and they call them skinwalkers. That's a name for them, right? But these witches and warlocks that practice these things, you know, they go and rob graves and they take the infants' bones out and they grind them into powders, you know? And
oh, this is so hectic. Grave robbers using infant bones ground down to do witchcraft. Like, this is so hectic, dude. It's crazy. 20 sec. Thank you, my man. Unfortunately, there is a $5 Australian dollar threshold on feeding the dog, and that is purely just to look out for her health, but I appreciate you, mate. Thank you. Heru did come in, though. I missed that one. Sorry, mate. Suki needs a new leash. Well, she can have a new snack. How about that? Go on. She's so gentle when she grabs it.
they use that as poisons, you know, like that. So the Jesuits was this like massive assassination team training group that was operating there that started training me. Well, then it was like, you needed to learn this spiritual side of assassination and hunting and stalking. And that's where the Skinwalkers and the Navajo and the Dene are like they have a different priest class that does that. And so that's what I got put out there for, because they do stuff like slipping between realms. We call them shadow walkers in the industry. Like these are guys that have this means to go between spaces. And so whether you can't hear them, you can't see them, you can't detect them, they're not on thermal, but there's certain types of ways that you can detect them. So it's like you have to get kind of raised up into these arts. And these are like, this is why we call it like, this is to me the realm of Azazel. I'm just convinced that this is all Azazel's kingdom in that realm and that side of it. And people are just branching off of his tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yep. So that's that clip, right? Super. And like the fact that he started getting into like the Hopi and that this stuff is all happening like around these mesas where people will go and like offer their children. I mean, you guys know that like I've always been fascinated by the Hopi, and not even just the Hopi, just like native cultures all around the world, because I think, you know, the biggest trick that has been one of the biggest tricks that's been played on the West is to like think that they're all just like delusional, or like their stories are just like some crackpot old theory. Like, I think that is just the biggest scam of our time. But the fact that he's talking about like the Hopi doing that stuff, I mean, I'm no Hopi expert by any means, but I'm just fascinated by that stuff. I've never heard of them doing stuff like that. I don't know if anyone, yeah, I'm sure there's someone in the chat probably knows a little bit more. I've never heard of the Hopi being involved in stuff like that. Maybe it's like in a different lens, in a different way. I don't know. But to hear that was kind of crazy, right? But what was interesting is the fact that they're out in the desert, right? This is the desert. They're doing this stuff. And again, it reminded me of Crowley and Parsons. So last night, I reached out to Frada Eleftheria. So if you don't know who he is the guy who did the sigil, the Sigillum Diameth, that Matthew Brown posted a picture of in his first big tweet, like that weird little Enochian magic symbol, right? I interviewed him on the channel last week or 2 weeks ago. And we've stayed in contact now. He's a really cool dude. And, you know, he's kind of said that I can like pick his brain for like occult questions. And I said, you can pick my brain if you want to learn about UFOs. So we have a cool little thing going on now. And I hit him up and I got his permission to share this, but I'll just say, I'll just read to you the conversation. I said, hey man, actually I've got a picture of him here just so you can know who I'm talking about. I said, hey man, in my latest video, I ended up diving into Baal worshipping cults that sort of seem to be present in the modern day. It got me wondering about good versus evil and thinking about Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley. Do you think their practices could have been an act of attempting to combat the dark side in a way? Or do you think what they did was purely out of greed and like hedonism and like just personal gain? And I said, I just feel like there must be people deep on this stuff out there using similar practices and rituals, but for the good and for light. And those guys came to mind pretty much because that's all I know. Like, I'm not deep on the occult stuff. I'm kind of learning as I go. But he's very deep. And this is what he said. He said, hey man, good questions. Crowley and Parsons were operating from a Thelemic paradigm. They believed in bringing about a new aeon where humanity would be free from the restrictions of the past. However, this definition of freedom also includes doing things that would be considered hedonistic or immoral by more traditional religions and doing them without guilt or remorse. Crowley is basically the magical source of the post-60s sex, drugs, and rock and roll culture. In their own way, they thought they were helping people. In contrast, the cults that the elites are in, from what I'm able to gather, are all about control, fear, humiliation, and power over others. Very satanic. The cult of Baal is often associated with such satanic practices. Technically, Baal worship is a form of paganism. As you've probably learned from your research, Baal was worshipped by people in and around ancient Israel, but his cult was so bloody that he was reimagined as a demon in Christian times. The Carthaginians, sorry if I ruined that, who followed Baal were known to have sacrificed human children as offerings to the god. Crowley and Parsons get a bad rap, but ultimately I think they were more morally grey than outright evil. Parsons was a classic anti-hero. And then he kind of just said, yeah, a lot of truth is stranger than fiction. And he said once I asked him for permission to share this, he said he would edit some of it to like add in more information. But then he said, he just said, I can't edit what I already sent, but just tell your audience that there is a story in the Bible where the prophet Elijah goes up against the priests of Baal because Baal was a rival god to Yahweh in ancient Israel. Baal probably started off as a god of the Canaanites. And again, going back to the start of the show, that's where cannibalism comes from. The Canaanites, Baal-ism. That, whoever put that in the comment of the last video, you rocked my world with that. I don't know why. I mean, it's quite simple and straightforward, but when I just saw that, I was just like, wow, just really, really hit the nail in. All right. We are going to go on to a clip now.
There is a global satanic religion that does operate.
Mr. Carroll, the man himself. He's a bit of a dog with a bone when it comes to conspiracies, but we do have a couple of snacks to catch up on from Christina. $5. Oh, look at Suki waiting for another. Here you go, girl. Here you go, Suki. This is from Christina. And from Andy with a 5 or 2 for a Suki snack. We're going to need to go on an extra long walk tomorrow. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. And so does she. All right, let's listen to Andy Carroll say how it is.
Aspects of cults around the world. Whether you think that like Hillary Clinton is literally in it or not is a whole different like level of conspiracy. But like
a global satanic religion?
Oh yeah, dude. Have you gone down the satanic ritual abuse rabbit hole? It is so dark. So what I'm referring to specifically are survivors giving survivor testimony on video, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Like not like one guy came forward and said this, like there are whole support networks for these people. Like there are psychologists that specialize in satanic SRA victims, satanic ritual abuse. And because you have to like treat them in a whole different way than a regular abuse victim, because the level of depravity and disgusting, like literal torture of children, like literal. So, your episode is so screwed now. But
Jack Howe, why does Danny Jones always sound like he has no idea what's going on? Dude, yes. Look, not always, to be fair, but like, I think it's just so obvious that he doesn't pick his guests. Someone else picks them. I'm not saying it's the CIA, but maybe. No, look, I don't know. I don't know who picks them, but you can just tell, like, he gets a guest on, and it might be someone, you know, especially if it's from like UFO world, you can just tell he has no idea who he's talking to. I can only identify it when it's those kind of guests, because obviously I know that lore. But yeah. And we're also going to be looking at a clip from Julian Dorey, and those guys are two peas in a pod, because this guy's just like dropping bombs on Julian Dorey, and Julian Dorey's just like, I don't even know if he knows the guy's name.
There's one in particular that this guy was on the Alondra Markman podcast, and I wish I could remember his name, and we don't even want to pull it up because it's so dark. And everyone should, you know, watch it for themselves and judge it for themselves in terms of whether you think he's telling the truth or not. But personally, it's like you can look into his life, and this guy, like his whole life is based around him recovering from this essentially story of his childhood and abuse, and it looks pretty looks far more likely that he's telling mostly the truth than entirely lies to me. And what he alleges in this interview that aired like a year ago or so, a little less, on Alondra Markman's podcast, is that he was born into a satanic family, of which there are many around the world, and that he was groomed from an early age to essentially be a Jeffrey Epstein type of character in a global satanic cult that is not all satanic, but the Satanists are a part of this sort of bigger network of crime and everything. And he alleges that he was...
I'm curious how they define themselves, Satanists. Like, what is the definition of a Satanist to them?
My understanding is that some of them, based on what he said, is that some of them are literally worshiping Satan, and some of them are practicing these things in this cult format and structure. And when I tell you what he's alleging, you'll realize that are so like in the same way that like some Jews are really practicing Jewish people, and some Jewish people are. And I don't mean to say, I'm not trying to make that connection. I'm just saying that we were just talking about Jews. Some people are more practicing of a religion than others, but you might still go to church, and you might still, you might identify as Christian, but you're not as Christian as the next guy. But he alleges that he was groomed from an early age, tortured every day as a child, like sexually abused every day as a child, to be groomed to have multiple personalities. And then by the time he was like a preteen, he was engaging in child death matches where
there's that multiple personalities thing coming up again. And that is a bit of a key theme in the stuff that we're going to be looking at today. But I think like we need to have like more like empathy, more compassion and understanding when these people who are in Hollywood start like losing their mind on social media. Like instead of being like, ha ha, Hila Tequila or whoever is going crazy, maybe we should be like, why do all these people in Hollywood keep going crazy? Why do all these people in Hollywood keep saying the children are being abused? Maybe they're connected. I don't know. Guys, we have over 900 people in the chat, which is amazing. And if I was going to say this on any stream, I want to say it on this one. Please like the video, because one like for this video equals one prayer. One like equals one prayer for this stream. This stream needs it. Okay, this is the only stream that's ever going to need one like equal one prayer. If we could all please one like, that would be amazing. $10 from Heidi, you absolute legend. And Heidi helped me out a lot with the last video, so I just wanted to give you a special shout out for that, Heidi. Thank you for your help. Thank you for the $10. Another snack for the goodest girl and for having the coolies to cover all of this. Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate that. And so does the girl. Look, she can hear the bag wrapper. Go on. What a good girl. And we've just had 5 gifted memberships from Buttermoon Music. You absolute legend, mate. Thank you very much. 5 people just became our latest members of the Weirdo Club. And you just unlocked a whole bunch of members-only content and the member section of the Discord, which is by far the best vibes in the Discord. And you'll only know if you remember. But thank you. I appreciate that. Let's keep going. We've got 2 minutes of this one left.
He would be put in a cage and he would fight to the death with another child in like downtown New York in underground like parties that rich people and businessmen would attend. And then that he, yeah. And it sounds so insane. But when you watch it, it's like hard. And it's not like he's the only one that has claimed this. He's just one that put it all in a particularly, like lots of people have lots of claims about this kind of shit. And he also claims that then after that, he was being groomed to be an actor and he froze up in his acting interview. And so he got shifted from the acting pathway. Because these guys, like, there's a fuckload of money in this community, allegedly. As in, it's tied into all of the global sex trafficking networks. Because how do you think that global sex trafficking sort of gets all the handlers and gets all of the sort of like operatives that run it? Is you need people that were abused in order to run these things, because you need to be that kind of broken, like you need to be groomed to be able to run this without breaking it.
Yeah, is this all like tied into like the Franklin scandal?
Similar, yeah. So he claims he met Jeffrey Epstein on 2 occasions. He claims that he was being groomed to essentially be a handler similar to Jeffrey Epstein. And he had a really lucid description that Jeffrey Epstein was an insanely good code switcher, is what made Jeffrey unique, that he could be completely normal businessman, like banker guy right now, and then like literally turn the other way and be an absolute depraved, abusive monster, and then like right back on like the drop of a pin.
That's crazy. Is that also part of this like split personality thing where these people can like, you can trigger different personalities in people? Like, man, this shit is so dark. Yeah. It is very dark. Tamara just put in $20. That's a huge super chat, Tamara. Thank you. She says, Josh, this is for you for being courageous enough to step out into this dark realm. Keep your balance as you walk this tightrope. Sending love. I appreciate that, Tamara. Thank you. And guys, this isn't something I really like. You know, this isn't going to be the new direction of the channel. This isn't going to be, you know, what we talk about all the time. This is like heavy, dark stuff. We might talk about it another time, but you know, I'm talking about it because I think it should be talked about, because I think ignoring it is like actually contributing to it, you know, in like a roundabout way. So, you know, I'm doing my part. £5 from Tracy Scott. Amen, Josh, for having the balls to cover such hard subjects. Thank you, Tracy. 20 sec from Retro, and $5 from JL Lammy, who didn't leave a note. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of that support. That's got to be worth at least a Suki snack. And another $5. All right, we'll make it 2. From Paco Gonzalez. Again, since you missed it, Dr. Williams Schnobelin. I don't know who that is. I'm going to make her fight for this one. Go on. That was mean. All right, we've got 30 seconds of this clip left.
And that's what made him so unique in this guy's perspective. And he kind of like had his programming, his like trauma did not work correctly. And so rather than going that route, he became a breeder. And he alleges that he was sent to a compound in Mexico where he would breed with trafficked girls all day, every single day, for like 2 or 3 years. And they would just breed and breed and breed and breed. And he alleges that is because they were particularly interested in him because of his bloodline and his heritage as some sort of direct descendant of King Solomon.
This is literally exactly, Prado, mate, get out of here. You've had your time. That's exactly what we heard from Nathan Reynolds, that this is about bloodlines. This is about maintaining like purity, and that sounds so like it sounds so like tinfoil hatish and so like crazy, but there are all these people saying it. And you know people can come in the chat and be like, oh, this person's lying, it's like, okay, are all of these people lying, bro? Because like if they are, then this is the biggest psyop of all time, or one of them. And then it's like, what's the motive? What would be the motive of everyone saying, hey, the people in control are secretly performing some kind of like underground child abuse racket? Like, what's the motive? It's not the people in control putting out disinfo agents where you're going to go put out fake information saying that you're abusing children when you're actually not. Like, that doesn't make sense. No one benefits from this. Literally no one benefits from these people speaking out. Not even them, because they get laughed at by people who can't think critically. No one benefits from this, and people aren't listening to them. That's what's so cooked. Now, is anyone watching that's from TikTok? Like, is anyone here watching me that came from my TikTok videos? Like, I really just post clips from my YouTube now on TikTok. But is anyone here from like old TikTok, back when I would just post TikToks? Because the next clip that we're going to be looking at is from Clif High. And Clif High...
I have come to...
Clif High is basically the first like viral video that I ever had on TikTok when I covered his 39 days to melee prediction, which was basically that he apparently predicted before it happened that 39 days after Donald Trump would be interviewed by Joe Rogan, that there would be like, this battle in the sky. And then funnily enough, we had all the New Jersey drone stuff. And like people were still in the comments going like, where's the UFOs? Where is it? It's like, bro, have you like, do you know what's happening right now? Anyway, that's another story. But Clif High is, bro, he's all over this. I thought this guy just did like, Bitcoin predictions and stuff like that. This guy's all over this. This is a short clip, but Clif High, he's on it. He's on it, baby.
So many of the conclusions that I heard you say the other day, when you were talking to that Jewish kid with it was like a 30-minute, 40-minute video. And, and he kind of gets it, but I want people, my problem is I want people to understand that they're not going to listen to, this whole idea about anti-Semitic. It's the Khazarians. They're in everybody's organization. If we would just start speaking, we have to change our language to change the world. But anyway,
exactly.
That's a really good point. We have to change our language to change the world. Because there is this defense mechanism of being anti-Semitic when like that's not actually what's happening. It's not about Jewish people at all, actually. That's just who these people are hiding behind, actually. It's not about Jewish people at all. We need to change our language.
I just love to hear from whatever you think's important to talk about right now. My personal, I'm a physician and I was an orthopedic surgeon for my whole life and suddenly got thrust into this because, I knew something about masks and I said, this is nonsense what you guys are doing. And I didn't expect to be in this job now, but.
Jack said, who's the other dude? Come on, bro. Be nice. I am G-Bay. Hi, long time no see, weirdos. Pleasure to have you here, G. Hope you've been well. Nice to see you again.
That's where I am. But I think, I've come back to that the ancient medicine is the way to go, that we are in the wrong paradigm about medicine. And I'm trying to simplify that. But to understand that, you got to have a worldview.
And you have to have a view of history. Because if you look at
Mrs. Doubtfire is crazy.
Our medicine right now, and you look at something and say, well, this makes sort of no sense. What's the history of this? And you trace it back. What do you find? Those damn Khazarians. Okay.
Yeah.
Look,
those damn Khazarians. It's the root of it all.
Look at what happened to vitamin D. Right? All through its history, every time it starts putting its head up and coming into the herd, where the herd starts getting an appreciation for vitamin D and what it does, boom, gets slammed down by the Khazarians and shuffled off somewhere. They are masters at controlling, used to be
information.
Correct. And the dialogue. Right.
And that I noticed
they shape it, oh no, you can't say those words. They're anti-Semitic. Right. Well, hey, you're not Semitic, so what the fuck do you care?
Yeah. It's like
damn, this is like anything goes, this podcast.
Like the 7 words you can't say on TV. Well, nobody gives a shit. Oh, well, there was one. Nobody cares about those words. Now they care about ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine, fenbendazole, nitazoxanide, and chlorine dioxide. And the last one will put you in jail if you mention chlorine dioxide.
And so a lot of the woke language is just because they care about what you're talking about, and the people have been told, basically, or are schooled not to go that direction. It's terrible to be a linguist. So I talk to a lot of linguists, and I've got this one guy who's he's not paranoid, but he's like taking the weight of the world on him, as though, maybe he is paranoid because he thinks everybody is out to get him specifically because he's a linguist.
That might be true.
And it might be true, and these days, I gotta say that I monitor my packet flows. I do everything.
Yeah, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Right. And I've had too much proof of that they're out to get me. So, it's dangerous times, especially if you're going to speak up.
All right. So I think I need a packet monitor as well. So look, I've always been, I'm very people say crazy shit in the YouTube comments. Like, that was Mrs. Doubtfire. That's a great example. But people say crazy shit in the YouTube comments, right? Like ever since my second video when I had 30 subscribers, people were like, "Oh, the shit you're saying, like you're gonna get the CIA gonna come and get you. Like you can't say that." Like people always say shit like that, right? I've never fed into that, right? I just keep my eyes locked on and I just keep moving forward. Obviously, you guys know I was nervous to upload the video yesterday. Did it anyway, and maybe it's just coincidence number 5,761, but today my phone's been doing weird shit that it has never done once in its life, and I've had this phone for probably nearly 5 years now, and it's never done what it has done today. So I don't know what that means. I'm not going to sit here saying the Khazarian mafia are trying to possess me and my phone. I'm not going to say that, but I will say my phone has been doing shit that it's never done before. So there you go. Maybe I need one of Clif High's packet trackers. James Anthony with a $5 says, when you show Suki in larger format, my dog Juji woofs at her, lol. And Stephen Fisher with $10 says, Josh, have you seen the movie Fallen? Seems relevant. Maybe play the trailer or check out the plot summary on Wikipedia. Awake and love your content. Hi, Suki. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that, man. And Coley Ray with $20 and a beautiful 6-month member badge. You love to see it. Thank you for bringing this topic up and sharing. I would not know about this rabbit hole without you. I appreciate your research and channel. I appreciate you and your 6 months of support, Nicole, and the $20. That's massive. And James, for Juji, we'll do a full screener. Oh, that's the minute the packet starts rustling, those ears pop up. Here you go. Now, we really...
You come from a family that
participated in human
that's not good for the autism. Way too many sounds. We really need to get a crunch mic. Add it to the list. All right, let's keep rolling. Next clip is Alex Jones. So in the Billy Corgan Tila Tequila video that I did, there was that little mention of Alex Jones by Tila in that video where she says, why does Alex Jones not get deplatformed? He says the same thing. And then I kind of paused it and I was like, yeah, it's a fair point. Wow. Is there an Alex Jones protection brigade on the internet that I didn't know about? Holy shit. The amount of comments that were just like, oh my God, I can't believe you would say Alex Jones hasn't been deplatformed. Spit flying everywhere. First of all, the comment made by Tila Tequila was before Sandy Hook. It was in 2012, before Sandy Hook happened. So I was kind of talking about it based off of that. Now I know he had had issues before that, but I think the real attack and deplatforming of Alex Jones was far more recent than that. And I was just kind of referring to a 2012 period of when she would be saying that. And it was a pretty off-the-cuff comment, actually. And I'm a massive Alex Jones fan, and I like listening to him. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm an Alex Jones meme machine gun. I love him. I'm all about him. So yeah, I thought why not include an Alex Jones clip today, because you know, just to let the brigade know, back off. I'm on your team. I'm on your team, guys. Relax. Relax. Go wash your hands. They're covered in Doritos.
Well, we went to church and stuff when I was a child, but I really wasn't that attracted to it because it just seemed kind of like a pep rally.
Dude, his voice is so gravelly too. It's crazy.
But the archetypes of good versus evil, and then experiencing the Holy Spirit and being given discernment, basically told the future, or certainly given inclinations of it, and then in many events where I was just literally not very often, but sometimes actually like hear a voice saying this is about to happen, usually warnings, and then it happening quite a few times, and also having dreams that came true. Sometimes
that's called foresight, right?
Absolutely. So I certainly young realized that there was something to the spiritual realm. In fact, it's everything. Third dimension is just a reflection of that.
Yeah.
And so this dimension is just a reflection of we call it higher dimensions, but the more complex dimensions.
Yeah, up in the penthouse of thought where all wars are won and lost, right?
Yes.
That's such a great quote there, what Roseanne just said. Oh, it looks like we just clicked over 1,000 viewers. That's wild, guys. This is my biggest stream so far. Thank you all for being here. Remember, like I said, if there's any stream that we need this, 1 like on the video equal 1 prayer. For sure. We need it. We need it today. But what Roseanne just said there, the battle is won and lost in the penthouse. And I think what she's saying there is like, it's in your mind. The battle is won and lost in your mind. And that is just like such a short, compact, and simple sentence that I think is just so dense and powerful, actually.
And so, I mean, I've just had a lot of interesting experiences, and I also, there's a spiritual battle. So when I was young, I didn't quite understand it all, still don't, but I was spiritually attacked quite a bit. And I learned that actually made me not be as naive and made me grow up quicker. So I've had some adventures.
What was the first spiritual attack you felt? You could talk in allegory.
Or what is a spiritual attack, maybe?
I mean, you know, the type Tucker Carlson talked about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had some of that happen when I was young.
I think what he's talking about there, what Tucker Carlson talked about, is that like Tucker Carlson reckons he woke up one day with like scratches on his back that he thinks he couldn't have possibly done. And don't worry, it's been debunked, guys. It's been debunked. Don't worry, it's been debunked. But, you know, I think for yourself.
And you should call it like poltergeist type stuff.
Yeah.
And I was never like, hearing voices on a regular basis. I think people were after me. I was totally whatever, but only every once in a while they're like, well, look out or watch out. And then,
yeah.
And then I also had some experiences.
That could be guardian angels, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I had experiences where, you're not thinking anything's going on, nothing's happening. It's afternoon on a Saturday. My dad's waiting in the car to go to a movie, and just get picked up and thrown all the way up against the wall, and my shoulder just located.
Oh, wow.
That's hard. That's hard to believe. And I'm not saying I don't believe it, but like for someone who's never experienced that, and I'm sure most of you guys in the chat probably, I hope you haven't, to hear that he has been like some kind of force or entity has thrown him up against a wall, that's crazy. That's crazy. Again, I'm not saying I don't believe it, but like to try and believe that is like, that's crazy.
It was like, whoa. So definitely in the whole spiritual energetic vortex, there's some interesting stuff going on. And I had some other experiences like that, but of more of spiritual assault trying to force its way in of like sexual nature. Yeah. That's, one of the forms of demonic invasion. I had some interesting experiences when I was pretty young. I mean, I wouldn't call it, from my perspective, it wasn't pedophilic because I was 12 and I looked like I was about 15 or 16. But I would have like older girls in the town and the neighborhood and stuff, that I started getting with when I was 12 and had what you'd call a lot of success at that. And then by the time I was about 13 or so, repeatedly, different ones, 10, 20 miles apart, would say, hey, we're in a satanic cult. We want you to be in it.
Oh, wow.
And I had some pretty amazing things there, and never was part of it. But repeatedly, I would be like, thinking, oh, this 16-year-old girl when I'm 14, was taking me out to the lake or whatever. And then, pull into this place and there's torches and stuff.
Oh, my God.
And black hoods. And I'm like, boom, literally walk out of there and you have to walk home.
So this is what, like, again, I'm not like super deep on like the history of Alex Jones. I know he like predicted 9/11, but I don't know like his history, right? But he's saying that like he's been, this is how I'm interpreting what he's saying here, is that he has been like invited and been like on the outskirts of these satanic groups. And that would make sense as to why he is the way that he is and why he feels so compelled to speak about it with such like conviction, because he's like seen it firsthand. That would make a lot of sense to me, but I've never heard like proper accounts and like stuff like that. This is really the first I've heard.
I'm in the country and go knock on a farmhouse door and call my dad. They didn't have cell phones back then. So I had some adventures like that are like eyes wide shut.
They tried to recruit him.
Isn't it weird in the country how rife that is and nobody knows it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get recruited into it because they think it's fun and adventurous. And Dallas was, richest area where I grew up, Rockwall, time in Texas, and it was pretty serious. We actually moved when I was 16 down to Austin. My dad owned a couple dental offices and sold them just to get away from it. Big Christian community, like the Christians were totally asleep, and then you had people right next to it that were, rich and powerful. That's really where I saw it going on.
It seems to center itself where people are rich and powerful, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I can see now the devil's not omnipresent, but he's been around a long time and does have his agents all over and has that intelligence, and could figure out God had some big plan for me. So I definitely got targeted.
There you go. Alex Jones definitely been targeted. So the Jones bodyguard brigade, please back up. But yeah, no, I think that's clear. Alex Jones has been saying how it is for a long time. And in the Tequila video, all I was really saying was that I agreed with her sentiment in that when he delivers his news, it often does come with like a sense of fear, whether that's like intentional or not, or just like a byproduct of his delivery style. It is definitely there, the way he's like yelling and shit like that. Like it is kind of like, holy shit. So that's all I was sort of agreeing with in that video. But I definitely think Alex Jones is one of the good guys. A lot of people say he's a CIA plant. I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that, but hey, do your own research. Eyed Wise Shut, Nicole Kidman, best performance as an ironing board. I want to see that movie. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's another documentary. It's crazy how many movies are actually documentaries, right? A lot of documentaries out there. I think we should move to the next clip. Actually, just quickly, I don't have a clip to show you, but you know what this stuff kind of reminds me of as well? Like we were talking about Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley earlier. They were in the desert. They were doing the Babylon working ritual, right? To try and summon this Scarlet Woman into like, I don't know, into 3D reality to, I guess, gain power in some way. Do you guys remember in Game of Thrones when no, I'm not saying Game of Thrones is a documentary, but who knows? When Melisandre, who is the Scarlet Woman, who is this like, she's like a witch, I guess. She's like some kind of, there's a word that I'm missing. I'm not good with my words tonight. I don't know why. But she gives birth to a like black shadowy entity that kills Renly Baratheon. Sorry, spoiler alert, but if you haven't watched it already, I think, 15 years is probably okay to give away the plot. So that's interesting, right? And, the Baratheons are also involved in the sacrifice of their own child and that's part of the, that's from the influence of the Scarlet Woman, is this child sacrifice for the Lord of Light. And then she then gives birth to this black shadowy figure that kills Renly Baratheon. It's wild. I'm not trying to say that's real or anything like that, but when you think of like the Scarlet Woman and all that kind of weird shit, it definitely seems like there's a little something going on there. Yeah, 15 years is long enough. I'm glad there's no one in the chat like, hey, I was gonna watch that. Like, bro, I think it's a little bit late. All right, let's keep moving. Next one This is Julian Dorey. This is a guy named Beck Lover, I believe. I only found this clip today from one of the guys in Discord. Drop this one in there. This is pretty wild, and this is the one where Julian Dorey just looks like he doesn't even know the guy's name or where he is.
Okay. Which are the recorded sayings of the prophet, but not all hadith are authentic. Because anyone that said they thought they heard the prophet speak, they recorded it. Doesn't mean it's accurate. Okay? And to answer your thing about the whole marriage thing, but I don't want to go off into it, they never celebrated birthdays in the Arab culture. Okay? They never had every year, let's celebrate our birthday. They weren't a writing people. They were an oral people before Islam. That's when they started keeping calendars and records and all that. This is all historical fact. But getting back to the point, this demonic realm, known as the Jinn, lived on Earth long before humanity. And there was another species even before them, but we know nothing about them. We don't know anything about them. So as far as the Islamic perspective is concerned, there was 2 other creations on Earth long before humanity. 2 other species. Okay? They, like human beings, were not the first ones with free will. The demonic realm has free will. They're not all evil, because that word demon makes you think evil.
Yeah.
There's good ones, there's bad ones. They have cities, they've had wars, they've had conflicts.
There's good demons?
But see, the English language doesn't do them justice. The Jinn, let's just call it the Jinn.
Okay.
The species of the devil, they have free will. There's ones that believe in God and stay true to him, and there's ones that are aligned only with Satan. The devil, Satan, Iblis is his name in Arabic. Shaitan is how Arabs would call him. Okay? The shayateen are the bad of that species that are aligned with the devil. Okay? He was the best of them. So in this civilization that's parallel to ours, they're on Earth in a parallel dimension to ours. Okay? Interdimensional shit, bro. But it's not alien, it's literally spiritual.
So
parallel dimension. It's spiritual. Do you guys remember when this is like a old UFO lore quote of Elizondo? I reckon like this is like 2022-ish, maybe with like Ross Coulthard or maybe like Kurt Jaimungal. And I think they asked him about like, you know, what's going on? Like what's going on with these aliens or whatever. And he was like, he said something like, they're here, but to the side. They're like adjacent to us. And the only thing that actually makes sense for that is the fact that it's a dimensional thing. It's another dimension overlaid with ours. And that makes me wonder, like, if we're talking about like ascension, right? That you ascend by giving off a more positive, higher frequency vibration. Imagine if that's actually how you traverse dimensions. And the lower, the more like hateful and victim mentality you have, and the more resentful and jealous you are, the more you get yourself closer to these lower dimensions and perhaps are like susceptible to, you know, getting like possessed in a way, like, you know, to put it simply. But the higher you ascend, you are going to more positive realms. You see the world differently. You see the world from a different perspective, a more positive perspective. I kind of gave this little example on my members only video, which I'll just say here because I think it's a good analogy, right? I've been like I'm in my 30s. I've had parts of my life when I was younger where I was like not happy, and I did think I was a victim, and I did think it was me against the world and all that rubbish. So I've been through that scale. I feel like I've been at the bottom and I'm much closer to the top now. And that gives me a different perspective on life, because I feel like wherever you are on that, like, you know, emotional vibrational scale, literally gives you a different perspective on life, on reality. And I feel like when you're at the bottom, you are running around a city with lots of tall buildings, and you can't see, you don't know where to go, you don't know what is left or is right, you don't know how to get out of this low vibrational frequency because it all just feels so like overwhelming. The buildings are so tall. But when you go up that, you literally get a bird's eye perspective on like that, on like navigating your thoughts and your emotions. And when you have a bird's eye perspective, you can see people in those like negative frequencies and in that negative vibration, and it's like you feel sorry for them because you can see where they need to go because you have a bird's eye view on how to like navigate your own mind. But these people can't. And like, you can't really teach people that, I've found. You can kind of explain it and people can kind of hear it, but they have to like work it out themselves. And I actually think the best way to do that is to be an example, is to show rather than explain. Maybe both, but definitely being like a role model is far more effective than just trying to like tell someone how to do it. I'm just catching up on a few chats here. Joshua with $5. Josh, you need to come up with a phrase or code word for us in case you get a visit from Men in Black or become compromised. Good idea. I'll work on that. Cookie with a $5 says, I've experienced demonic energies or evil energies. Bro, I hope that's not happening anymore. I hope you're all good. I hope P-Shaw. Hey, cats are meant to be like protectors of the dimensions, bro. You keep P-Shaw around, you're good. He'll look after you. And $20 from Tamara, who's got the #1 chatter spot at the moment, says, Josh, what do you know about the succubus and incubus sex demons? Nothing, unfortunately. Nothing, unfortunately. Perhaps this road will lead me there. Who knows? But I can't give you a good answer on that, unfortunately. And I think those few super chats are definitely worth a Suki snack. We should probably cap these out. We should probably put a cap on that soon. All right, let's keep going.
Are you saying that, like, hypothetically here, maybe I'm taking this too far.
Do as far as you want.
But that they may walk among us?
They walk and fly amongst us.
Meaning like they could literally be a person.
They could literally be in that fucking globe right there, in your statue, if they want to possess the object.
Right,
yes.
Or they could be a guy sitting right there.
They can be in this room right now. They can flow through us like the blood in our veins.
Are the demons in the room with us?
Like that. Like, bro, are the demons in the room with us? Like, come on, dude. Come on, bro. Like, I get humor. I'm a fan of humor, obviously, right? In fact, I would say comedy is a pillar of my channel, and I like having fun and laughing. I think it's important. But you're interviewing, like, this isn't your best friend. This isn't your mate. This is a podcast guest who's being serious. And I think that's like, I think that's rude. I think you're taking the piss out of him. And obviously, I think it's good to like take the piss out of people sometimes. But I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it's like, you know, you got to have a bit of etiquette or like, you know what I'm trying to say. It just doesn't feel right.
Oh man,
got to feel it out.
Let me explain to you now.
I could be totally wrong, by the way. You know, I feel like different cultures, different parts of the world engage differently. This, from my individual Australian perspective, that felt rude, but I could be wrong.
And there's a guy watching this right now, Danny Hoyos.
Danny Hoyos.
Remember how your TV exploded that day, Danny?
Who's Danny Hoyos?
He knows. I was teaching him about the Jinn. He was getting closer to believing in God. His TV exploded right in front of us. I swear.
It exploded.
I shit you not. I shit you not. I've seen people start fist fighting because it's when you go towards God that they attack. When you're lost, they don't waste their time on you. They got you. But we're going out of order here, Julian. This is a complicated subject.
Well, bring us in order, Beck.
I'm not doing the audience justice, man.
All right. Do you want to go to this Aleister Crowley stuff?
We're gonna get there in a second, but let's finish what we started 3 hours ago. The story of creation.
Yeah.
That species lived on Earth long before us. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
They had free will. There's good ones, bad ones. There's all different types, and they're not like human beings. They have different capabilities than we do. They have longer lifespans than we do. Okay? We don't know how long they live, but they live much longer than us. They can fly. They can travel faster than the blink of an eye. They can transport material objects in the blink of an eye. And they follow us throughout our lives. Okay? So, as they were corrupt on the earth, they were spilling each other's blood. Okay? If they even have blood. They were fighting each other, wars, just like human beings, but they're a different creation than us. Mm-hmm. The devil, Shaitan, Iblis, was the best of them. And because of his righteousness on earth, God raised him to the ranks of the angels. He was never an angel. He lived amongst the angels, but he was never an angel. Once God created Adam, he blew the soul into Adam's body. And then the angels asked God, this story is also in the Quran, asked God, do you create another that will shed blood on the earth? And God says, I know that which you do not know. I have a purpose for this creation. The devil was so jealous, he thought he was going to have dominion over the earth, but God awarded the dominion to Adam and his followers. He declared war on Adam. So when God created Adam, he commanded all that were present to show respect to him, like to bow. Not the way you would worship God, but to show some type of like maybe a konnichiwa, the way the Japanese do it, or some type of bowing motion to show respect to Adam. And God...
Yeah, someone asked about Ouija boards. I wouldn't. I was like, nah, I'm not into that, bro. Like, the thing is with Ouija boards, like somehow Ouija boards became like a cool little spooky fun thing for teenagers to do. How did that become a thing? Who made Ouija boards be sold at like Kmart? Because I'm pretty sure they are. That's like, why is that a fun, cool thing to do, to go and like mess with other realms and dimensions? Like, the only reason people do that is people who subconsciously don't actually believe in it. And if you do believe in it and you're still doing it, your brain is a literal peanut. Retro gifted a membership. Thank you, Retro. Whoever received that, welcome, you little weirdo. You got members only content you can check out now. And There Is No Death chucked in $2 and said, please keep up the positive messages. Gotta go. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Don't worry. It's always positive here. It really is. Even when we dig into the dark stuff, it's always from a place of light. 100%. We're bringing light to the darkness. That's what we're doing here. And $10 from Blaze. On your last video, I commented to please be safe. And if you ever feel like you're in danger, wear a colored shirt or shave your beard. We'll know something's up. Okay. I like that. The colored shirt. I'll pretty much always stick to white or black. So if you do see like a red shirt one day, yeah, that'll be it. The red shirt. Remember. And 20 sec again from Retro. Thank you, my man. I appreciate you. Retro, did you gift a membership and you're not even a member yourself? That's some generosity. Or maybe I'm reading that wrong. But thank you, man. I appreciate that. This has a little bit left.
So the reason you bowed to him is because I gave him knowledge. Which was more because the devil's whole thing was, you made me from fire. Why should I bow to him? I'm made from fire. You made him from mud, right? And that's when this war started. This war began. You want to see an alien? Look in the mirror, people. If you believe in God, you're the aliens on this earth. We were the ones cast down. The funny thing is, Bill Carson says the same thing. We're the aliens, which is crazy, right? So on that peak, okay, Bill, all right. Me and you, okay, we agree on that part. But not that we were modified by aliens. Now, this interdimensional war started in heaven. The day Adam was created was the day that the devil didn't bow. Why couldn't he bow? All the angels bowed. Why didn't the devil bow? It's not because angels have free will. The Jinn, the demonic realm, they have free will. He chose not to follow God's commandment. So all the angels, they bowed to Adam. He didn't bow because he was never one of the angels.
But if there's now I'm getting a little bit meta on this, but if there's a creator above everything who's responsible for everything, then the creator himself has to be okay with the creation of the demonic realm itself, no?
He created.
I think, credit where credit's due. Julian Dorey's mustered up an intelligent question there. Fair play to him.
The good and the bad.
Yeah.
Okay, and remember, he has knowledge we don't. There's a purpose for this. Is not by accident. None of this is by accident. To my understanding, he created all the souls that would ever be, and we chose whether we would be righteous or not. And we're inserted into this life based upon that decision before we even existed in this dimension. We have no recollection of what came before, because if we even saw God for 1 second, then we know heaven's real. Hell, well, if God knows everything, then why did he even create the universe?
Oh, I've got it. There's always a few of those guys in the chat for sure, and the YouTube comments.
And why does he even need to let us live? Because you don't know everything. Because when you die, you will account for everything you did and the choices you made.
Oh, that last bit was fire, because you don't know everything. So just shut up and listen. Take in the information. Relax. $8 from Heidi JP. Good night, Suki, from my 18-year-old Jack Russell Mini. She's snoring very loudly now. Great videos, Josh. Thank you. Oh, shout out to Minnie, and thank you, Heidi. That's very generous. Appreciate that. So that guy was cool. I liked that guy. I feel like he was kind of talking from, I guess, more of like an Islamic perspective, or framework about Jinn and stuff like that. But again, I think this is all the same stuff, right? Jinn, devils, demons, like Baal worship. Maybe not exactly, by the way. You know, I'm not saying Jinn and Baal are the same thing, but I think this is all in the same realm. This is all in the same realm. So it's interesting to hear perspectives from different religions who look at it through different lenses, because I think ultimately they're telling the same or a very similar story. And, you know, something that I've thought about as well is like, I really believe in the power of belief. And in that, you know, I spoke earlier, I gave you that little framework of, you know, the busy city and your vibration is your perspective on it. In that same video, I spoke about it. I spoke about belief and the power of belief, right? And, you know, if you're on that scale, if you believe the world is an amazing, beautiful place and you're coming from this super high vibration, love, enlightenment, then that's how you see the world and that's how you feel with just like total contentness and love, it makes me think that heaven and hell is a state of being. Like heaven and hell is both present here on earth, inside of you, depending on the perspective you look at things through. Again, if you're the victim mentality, why does this always happen to me? Why can't I have that? Jealous, right? You live in hell because that's how you see the world. You live in hell. But if you can find a way out of that and go up and you start seeing from a positive perspective and you're content and full of love and you have everything you need inside you, you're in heaven. I feel like heaven and hell is a state of being. And I think that's why there is so much power in belief, but it's so like murky and tricky, right? Because it's like, okay, if I believe in that, does that mean all of these satanic ritual abuse cults will disappear? No, probably not. So like, how does that work? How does that work? Like I don't have answers. I want to know, but these are the things I think about in the shower. What do you guys think about in the shower? All right, last clip to look at. This one is a classic. I feel like a lot of people have probably seen this. Oh, Nerd Alert thinks about polarity in the shower. Okay, all right. You're thinking about those members only videos, huh? I see you. All right, this next one, I feel like a lot of us have probably seen this. This is...
What do you mean? Can you define?
Danny Jones, the 2 peas in a pod with Mr. Dorey, with Catherine Fitz. And she, I think, hits the nail on the head here. And I think she kind of wraps this whole show up in a bow. But 20 pounds from Mish. Thank you, Mish. That's very generous. That's about 30 Australian dollars. Spot on, Josh, she says. Thank you, Mish. And you know what? I think that's worth a Suki treat. I'll give it to her in a second. And Toxic Fart with $2 says, Josh is in heaven when he sleeps on his belly. That's right. Singing a bit of Robbie Williams' Angels on my belly. And I think if you were in the stream, you know the rest of it.
Mr. Global
is the committee that runs the world. So
okay.
There's a committee at the top that makes all the big decisions. And my nickname for it is Mr. Global. So the question is, who is Mr. Global and why is Mr. Global doing what he's doing? Because when I look at a situation, I like to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like if I was Danny and I was doing this, what would it look like from my point of view? And so I want to put myself in Mr. Yeah. Why is Mr. Global doing this? What's Mr. Global's point of view? So anyway, so Joseph and I went through and did who is Mr. Global and why is he doing what he's doing? So we went through all the theories, but some of my favorite comments on the internet is they'll say, well, she worked at the White House and she knows, so she's not telling us. It's like, no, everybody at the White House is not sure.
And that's so damning. And I believe her. And this is like something that I've realized that I feel like a lot of people are yet to catch up on. Is like I don't think people really, and I know this because I'm like, look at the UFO world, right? I don't think most people understand the level of compartmentalization that goes on. She's laughing going, no, the people at the White House are like, what the hell is going on? Like, think of the implications of that. We think of the White House as this like, decorative, like amazing place of like nobility, and where no one would step a foot wrong because it's all for the nation and for the country and for the people. But in reality, everyone in the White House is like, what the actual fuck is going on here? That's scary.
Who's your best guess of who Mr. Global is?
This is
I think you have intergenerational pools of capital, and right now they are over influenced by a cult. So yes, so I think you have.
I think she said a cult, or I mean, I guess it's kind of one and the same, isn't it?
Have interdimensional intelligence, which is operating demonic intelligence.
Interdimensional demonic intelligence.
Yeah.
I'm can we get hands up in the chat if you're like on board with that theory? Hands up in the chat if you believe that the elites are somewhat compromised by an interdimensional negative energy. Can we see some hands, please?
Yep. So I think this thing about good and evil is real. And I can't find it anymore. I found it once. There were in the 30s, a British physicist got up and said, we are being manipulated, but from other dimensions by intelligent beings from other dimensions. So I think, if you study Christianity and you read the Bible, you're dealing with both divine intelligence and demonic intelligence. And I think too much of the leadership has gotten deeply involved in the occult and demonic kinds of intelligence.
And it certainly seems that way. And like the other thing is like, some people might hear that and be like, oh, that's crazy. Like, how could that be? It's like, well, do you have an answer? Do you have another answer? Does anyone else have another answer that kind of like makes sense? And also another answer that has like hundreds of people coming and speaking out about like satanic ritual abuse cults, or another answer that has, equal amounts of people claiming and whistleblowing on whatever your reason is. Because I don't think there is many other reasons, but there are a lot of people coming out saying this stuff is real. And as crazy as it sounds, like it makes sense when you look at how cooked the world is.
A group of military intelligence in the United States called the Collins Elite.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the Collins Elite. Yeah,
and they came to believe that the ET phenomena was a demonic phenomena. It was not people from another planet. It was demonic intelligence.
It was biblical stuff.
Right. And one of the things he discovered was that,
yeah, nice one, misinformation. That's her name. Misinformation says, I always say, even if you don't believe it, they do. I've said that too. It's like even if you don't think this stuff is real, the people in charge do. So whatever is happening is unfolding through their lens because they are in charge and they believe it. So it's like you're kind of involved in this whether you believe it or not. $5 from Debol, a snack for later, Suki, from my little dog, Zach. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. We'll give that one to her after this clip because this is the last clip and there's only a few minutes left.
The Collins Elite apparently discovered is in many sort of ET abduction events, if you called on Jesus Christ, it would stop.
What?
Yeah. That's what
we've heard. The same thing with the UFO phenomenon too.
He reported, and he strikes me. I don't know anything about him, but it struck me as someone who was trying to do a faithful job of simply reporting what they found.
There's a lot of folks in the intelligence community that publicly state how they believe that the whole UFO phenomena is like this biblical thing, how it's angels and demons and these things could be angelic entities and, like literal, like ground, like legitimate people in the intelligence community, whether they're still active or retired or whatever, that have been on podcasts that state they believe
this. So I am sure that all of that stuff is happening. So I think we are dealing with demonic and angelic forces in our world, and that's interdimensional intelligence. So the Bible calls it, demons and angels. Other people call it fifth dimension or whatever, but I think...
But no one's saying it's not real. Everyone's just arguing over the name, but no one's like denying it.
We're absolutely. And I will tell you what I think is the most important thing to understand about the universe. So write this down. This is my favorite. My favorite new book is A New Science of Heaven by Robert Temple.
Oh, yeah.
99% of the material in the universe is plasma. Our universe is made up of plasma. And I used to hear that David Bohm said this, and other physicists as well, but Temple's really documented and nailed it. And I'm sure he's right. Plasma is alive and it's intelligent. And that means life is alive and intelligent.
So what does that mean for all these balls of light that we're seeing? All of these weird balls that were all over New Jersey and Lakenheath in the UK. Like there's balls of plasma, plasmoids, whatever you want to call them, orbs, orbs. Some like to call them borbs. It's true. Okay. Are they is that an angel? Like what are they? Because I've covered them a lot on the channel, but go back and look at these paintings from the 15th, 14th, 13th century. They have paintings of people standing around with these orbs in the sky, these balls. So they've always been here. Whatever that is, it's always been here. And that may not even be negative. It could be. Maybe it's whatever. I believe that this is kind of going back to the belief thing, but your reality is a mirror, right? Like I said, if you have victim mentality and the world is against me, then it will always feel like that because that's what you're putting out. So I wonder if that kind of also applies with these interdimensional beings, right? If you come at them from a negative, dark place, you can extract the dark. But if someone who's coming at it from a positive perspective and, love and light, maybe you are getting more of an angelic experience and interaction with them. I don't know. That's just a total off the cuff theory. But if maybe they can play both roles. Maybe there's no sides picked with them. That's not how they function.
Plasma or dark matter?
Plasma.
Plasma.
But, let me make it simple. The universe is alive and intelligent.
Sure.
And we share intelligence with all life. So in the Lord of the Rings, when the trees show up to help, that's real.
Right.
So life is alive. And the notion that you can take digital technology and control it centrally, once you understand that, is so ridiculous. Only a demonic intelligence would come up with that plan.
Facts. Great facts. Pretty sure the Khazarian mafia invented taxes, by the way, to keep you safe. It's literally like the mafia. Well, the Khazarian mafia. But you see those mafia stories. It's probably in The Sopranos or something. I haven't seen it. Don't shoot me. But it's you pay a little fee to the mob and they make sure your business is, doesn't get firebombed. That's basically what taxes are. But with just the label of it being normal and legal. That's the matrix weaved by the archons.
Huh.
Right.
Have you noticed this recent phenomena of, and there's been articles written about it, of essentially a lot of big shots in Silicon Valley are mapping Christianity now onto everything that's going on in Silicon Valley.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. This part is interesting, though.
There's a new church in Silicon Valley that everyone's going to. Peter Thiel and the head of this company called Y Combinator are, Peter Thiel is a famous billionaire gay Christian.
Also a reptile. Yep, keep going.
And the guy from Y Combinator is a big devout Christian. And they're holding these big conferences and, all these folks in Silicon Valley seem to be now converting to Christianity, going to church. And it's just really interesting to me, because Silicon Valley is, historically known for being like anti-religion, right? Like it's not been a typical religious part of the world in history. These people are, a lot of people developing tech and developing, these social media platforms, transhumanism. And
T-Bone Slim says, why are all these tech nerds gay? I don't know, bro. Good question. $15 from Susie Sunshine. Energy goes where thoughts flow. Couldn't have said it better myself, Susie. Thank you for the $15. That's very generous. Appreciate you. Also, $2 from Beninator, who said, read A New Science of Heaven, audiobook on Spotify. I actually just ordered a new book off Amazon the other day. It looks really interesting. I can't remember what it's called, though. But I'll let you guys know when it comes.
I know nothing about it.
Yeah. There's been a lot of articles. There was an article in the New York Times that came out, I think the New Yorker. And it's really interesting to me that somebody like Peter Thiel would be somebody who's, very much tied up in the military industrial complex, the intelligence
I would say
community.
that there is a non-alignment between the teachings of Jesus Christ and what Peter Thiel and his companies are doing.
Yeah.
So,
but I it makes me wonder though, why somebody like Peter Thiel would be so invested in promoting Christianity in Silicon Valley.
I don't know.
It's a fair point. Scale Tipper says, why would Danny Jones need to bring up the fact that Peter Thiel is gay unless he's trying to smear queer people? Mate, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think I think for some reason you're like pairing the highlighting of someone's sexuality as a negative thing. I don't think it has to be negative. I don't think it was negative, actually, personally. I mean, if your point is like, why did he just need to bring it up in general? I guess that's fair, but I don't think it's a smear. I don't think it felt like a smear, personally. Did anyone know that he was gay? Did anyone know that he was actually a gay reptile? No, I'm kidding. He's not a reptile. But if you do rearrange Peter Thiel, it does spell out the reptile. So, make of that what you will. But it is interesting that they're saying that a lot of these people in Silicon Valley are starting to move towards Christianity because this is exactly what Diana Pasulka has been talking about, and it's what her next book is going to be about. And I'm really excited to see that and read it because she has been saying that all these people at the cutting edge of AI literally see AI as some kind, like the second coming of Christ. Like literally they think AI is like our savior and that it's got something to do with the next stage of human evolution. And obviously what they're referring to is the integration of humans with technology, which is, its own rabbit hole, and it's kind of scary. But I try to stay open to that. Like, humans fusing with AI is such a, like, that's so broad. It's like, what, are we actually going to become cyborgs controlled by some hive mind network? Or are we just going to have like a little bit of a Google search function in our eyeballs and we can just kind of work shit out a lot quicker? Like, what does it actually mean? Because, I've heard theories that say if we are to grow as a species and like become interstellar, interplanetary, become like the Nordics operating UFOs and going planet to planet, whatever, you're probably going to need to be like a next level stage of human. So it might be like some level of technological integration might actually be required to go interplanetary in terms of like survivability. Like you might not even be able to do it without it. It might actually be the next stage of human evolution, and it may not necessarily be bad. However, I'm not advocating for it. I'm just trying to give a different perspective. However, can we trust the people implementing it to not implement it negatively? If it's Peter Thiel, aka the reptile, probably not. The guy was asked a simple question. Hey, are you the Antichrist? And he started going, like, bro, if you can't answer that question just quickly and simply, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. Look, there's been a few super chats. Let me give one last feed to the dog. Boom. Yeah. She doesn't even want it. She's full. A few people concerned for Suki's health in the stream. I understand. This is not a regular thing. This might be something we just do like on the weekend. But it was suggested by you guys in the community, and I thought it would be fun too. And I know she ain't complaining. But she'll be going on a big walk tomorrow, and yeah, it definitely won't be a regular thing. But it was a lot of fun, and I think if it was to be debuted on any stream, this was the one, because it got dark. Definitely got dark, but I think we got through it all right. I think we got through it feeling positive, and you know, it's only up from here. Thank you all for hanging out, guys. I really appreciate the support. The generosity from you is just honestly unmatched. Best community on YouTube. Thank you for being here. There'll be stuff coming out tomorrow. Be good, touch grass, be kind, take care. I'll see you then.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.